Okay, this is CAD Methods. It's Lab 4.1, Part 1, Project 13.4, page 559. And it gives you some directions on what to set up. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need to open up Project 8-2 that we did earlier. Now, some of you, I sent some directions on how to make some changes. So those changes are make sure that you don't have, for instance, a line from the center to something like that. So you got lines over lines. See how my dash doesn't show? So I don't want that. Make sure that you have um, the proper, this little top hat here, it's upside, make sure that you've got it trimmed properly and that your drawing looks just like this. And that's pretty good. So you can go through this 13.4 and follow the directions. Where you're going to make a mistake, if you're going to miss it, is this 2.1 right here, set annotation scale. So that's down here, the bottom in my AutoCAD. I'm going to change that to 2 to 1. Okay, so now we need to add some dimensions, and it needs to look like this. So we've got some horizontal and vertical dimensions here, some vertical dimensions here, some vertical dimensions here. But up here we have some datum dimensions. So these are, in AutoCAD you might see it as ordinate dimensions. So we're going to need to put those in. And then we've got a leader or a radius. And the only changes I might have to that are we have these really nice center lines that we put in here. So if you go into your dimension style manager, DDIM or dim style, modify it, and go to, let's see, we want the center marks. So symbols and arrows, center marks. We're going to say none and say OK and close. Now, before you start dimensioning, you're going to want to set this number right here, 2 to 1. So I've already set it per the directions. And I'm simply going to go up here. You should be at this home. Let's make this a little bigger. The wider you make AutoCAD, the more options will display in the ribbon. So I'm going to make this wider. You should be in the home. You go over to Annotate, right here at the top, Annotate tab. I've got different dimensioning tools that I can use. So let's add some dimensions. The first one we're going to dimension this big center circle here. So we need a vertical and a horizontal dimension. So you can just use the tool, dimension, and go from, say, an intersection to an endpoint. Whoops, that's not right. Let's use a linear dimension from an intersection to an endpoint. And drag that over. Okay, let's do that again. So I'm going to hit enter. From an intersection. Now you want to grab. You want to make sure that you're grabbing the end point of that center line and drag that down. And that looks good. Now, I'm not going to quite finish this yet. We want to do this datum dimensioning. So that's an ordinate dimension. So if I were to dim and ORD, I could put an ordinate dimension from, say, this endpoint here down, and I'm going to turn my ortho on. And you can see it says it's 4.6670. That's a silly number. If I look over here, it tells me it should be 2.94. Now the reason for that is if I zoom out, I want to draw a line from 0, 0, just to show you where that is. And turn that off. Zoom extents. Okay, my 0, 0 is down here. So if I just move, I think this is the easiest way, from the corner of that view to the end point of that line. So now that corner is on the 0, 0. I'm on the dimensions layer. And now what I want to add, dim ordinate from, tell you what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of, should offset these, but I'm just going to, let's see, offset 0.125. Here to there, here to there. So watch this. M ordinate from an endpoint here to a perpendicular here. There's my number, 2.94. Do that again from here. Oops. Dim ORD from that intersection to that endpoint. Right there. Okay. And that gives me, that's how I'm going to go through and add those ordinate dimensions. And before I go too far, you might have noticed when I moved it, all my center marks changed and all my hidden lines got really close together. So that's because we have the annotation scale set. All I'm going to do, LT scale, change it from 0.125 to 0.25, and everything's going to jump back to where it should be. And then I'm going to finish this real quick and come right back. Okay, so I have all my dimensions on there. This is my new 0, 0 point, so I can do those ordinate dimensions. I've used the dimension radius command because this is a partial circle. I'll dimension it as a radius right here. All partial circles will be dimensioned as a radius. And if I dd edit my dimension, you'll see there's a field in there that you don't want to ever change that field if you can help it. That is annotated off of the arc or the circle, and that's the exact dimension that it is. And then I can just arrow before or after and type. Just type anything I want in that text box. So then when you add this, you want to make sure when you add this that this leader line coming from the radius is not crossing any other dimension line. And if I look up here, I've got a plus 0.0005 tolerance and a negative 0. So here's a trick. In your dimension style, everything that you see here, everything that's in all of these tabs, once you've created the dimension and I click on it, is all going to be in your properties. Everything in the dimension style is listed here. So I need to add tolerance in there. And that's going to be tolerances, display a tolerance, symmetrical, nope, there we go. And then it gives me an upper limit. And I'll say 0, I think that says 5. Oh, I have it backwards. 0. Oh, that's symmetrical. Deviation. There we go. So there I have my deviation and the edit again. That's exactly what that shows. So there's your ordinates. Now you've fixed your LT scale. Your drawing should look exactly like this. Exactly like this. Make sure that your center lines are correct, that there's a gap between your dimension and the object you're dimensioning to. So like here, I can cross these dimension lines because I'm crossing dimension lines, but I can't cross, I want to try not to cross my radiuses through any other ordinate dimension or through any other dimension. This is a typical area where a dimensional cross, but it doesn't happen in a lot of places. We never dimension to only hidden information. So these won't get dimensions, only the center lines in the top view, because it's applied to an object, not a hidden information. And then that covers 4.1, part 1, 13.4.